Now we just have to hook power up to everything. So, power, data, all of that stuff. So first, I think we'll start by untangling all these cables. So, the biggest connector you're going to deal with is your main motherboard connector. It looks like this. It's a 20 plus 4 pin. Older motherboards, they only use the 20 pin. Newer ones, they use a 20 plus 4 pin. So you'll see this little 4 pin comes off like that. The clip on this motherboard goes to the outside. So what we want to do is there's no real elegant way to do this, but there's no real elegant way to film this, but we just want to see how it's going to go. So we're going to push it in, the 20 pin, and then the 4 pin will only go in one way. There's two little clips that go towards the 20 pin, and that goes in the same way. It may be a little bit of a stretch like this one is, since we do have some short cables on our power supply, but it should go in like it just did. So that's our main motherboard connector done. Next we want to do the 4-pin CPU connector. So on this is a 8-pin, I'm guessing that's not the one we're looking for. This power supply is a little odd. Is that it there? No, that's the same one. Oh no, it is the CPU connector. And it's got an extension cable. These are extension cables. And it's got a 8-pin, 4-pin to 8-pin adapter on the end. So we want to take that off because we're only going to use a 4-pin. So we'll put that in the motherboard box for the customer. And we want to bring this around, and the CPU connector's all the way up in the top corner, and this will only go on one way, which is that way, I think. No. That way, with the clip again to the top edge of the board this time. Yes? Yeah. Sometimes this might be hard if you've got big fingers like me, but you just want to push that in until it clicks, and we'll tidy these cables up afterwards. Next, you want to look for a cable that says, or in this case doesn't say, you want to look for a 6-pin cable. Now this video card takes 2, and the clips go to the top of the card. So we'll put one in. And we'll see if there's another one here. I don't believe there is. No, there isn't. So in the box of accessories we got before, there was a part in a bag that was 2 Molex to 1 6-pin. So we want to use that. Get it out of its bag. Now you only want to use these if you absolutely have to. We have to here since we don't have enough 6-pins. So we're going to grab a Molex lead, which is this one. That's a Molex and 2 Sata. This is another 2 Molex, so we're going to use this one. And you want to untangle it as best as you can. So this cable's got 2 Molex and a floppy, so you just want to plug the 2 Molex connectors in. Molex is a large 4-pin connector, by the way. And that gives us 1 6-pin, and we'll plug that into the video card. It wants to let us. That doesn't want to plug in for some reason. The best idea, guys, is not to force anything. If something's not going in, try it in a different slot. There we are. So in that case, we got it in the other one, and we're just going to use the other one in the other slot. Sometimes things don't fit perfectly, it's just a manufacturing out of spec, so you just want to do it that way. So that's our video card hooked up. Next, we want to hook up the, well, let's do the, actually we can't with the video card installed. So what we want to do is, I'll be back in a sec, guys. So as you can see, we've already hooked up the 20 plus 4 pin and this 4 pin CPU connector. Now, as I showed earlier, our motherboard came with 2 SATA cables, which look like this. You'll see one cable came with straight ends, and one cable came with a straight connector on one end and a right angled connector on the other. We're going to stick with the cable with the 2 straight ends. Now you'll see on the board there are 2 sets of SATA connectors. One set is grey and one set is black. The grey set is SATA 3, 6 gigabits per second. The black set is SATA 2, 3 gigabits per second. You'll also see etched on the board that the top grey one is SATA-1, and the bottom grey is SATA-2, then 3, then 4 on the black ones. So SATA-1 is going to be read first by the motherboard, so if you want quicker boot times, you want to plug your boot drive into SATA-1. Really, it doesn't matter these days, but yeah. So we're going to run this cable afterwards to the hard drive. Next, we'll plug in our USB 3 front panel connector, and it's this really fat cable here. Sometimes it has 2 wires. We only have one USB 3 port on the front of our case, so it's only got 1 wire here. But you'll see it has 20 little holes, and it's usually a blue connector, just like the USB 3 connector you'll see on your motherboard, or on the front of your case, or on any device with USB 3. It's also keyed here, so it will only go into the motherboard in one way. And we're just going to install it right here where the motherboard says USB 3. Make sure the key goes to the outside of the board. Make sure you check your motherboard because it may be different, but for us it's on the outside, and we're just going to slide that on. And we're going to move this just sort of out of the way for the moment, if we can. Next, we've got our front panel connectors. These are all these 1 and 2 pin, oh, that's USB there. These are all these 1 and 2 pin cables here, and they're going to go on this part of the motherboard down here. Now, your motherboard manual will reference where this is going to go, where each cable is going to go, I should say. So if you look at your motherboard manual, I've got the page open here. It has a detailed diagram of where each cable will go, but it's also on some motherboards etched right onto the board, but I'm going to use the manual since it's a little easier to read. So we're going to start with the bottom connector closest to you guys. So that, according to the motherboard manual, is the hard drive LED. Now LEDs, it does matter which way the cables go, so according to this, the positive is on the bottom side of the motherboard. So we want to find the cable that says hard drive LED or HDD LED, which is this one here. And the positive cable is the one with the colored wire. So we just want to untangle this here as best we can. Also, if you don't have any colored wires, there's also an arrow on the tip of the connector, which also indicates positive. So we're just going to clear some space on the motherboard here, and we're going to place that on the 2 pins marked hard drive LED right there. The one directly above that is the power LED, and you'll see our power LED is split. So again, the colored wire is positive and it doesn't have an arrow on it, but it does have a plus symbol indicating positive, and the white cable is negative. So this is going to go on in the same way right above the hard drive LED, with the positive cable to the bottom of the board and the negative cable to the, well, one directly next to it. If I can get this on here. These cables are a bit fiddly, so just take your time. Now for the front panel switches. These switches, it doesn't matter which way they go onto the motherboard as long as they're on the right set of pins. So the bottom one is the reset switch. So this is this white and black cable here. So that goes directly next to the hard drive LED, and we're just going to plug it straight on. Like I said, it doesn't matter which way it goes on because it's a switch. Lastly, we've got our power LED, or power switch as it says on the cable, and that's going to go directly above that. Make sure you get it on the right set of pins. Like so. Next, we're going to hook in this little speaker that came with the case, and that's going to go on these 4 pins down here. Now, if you look at the manual, it will detail where this goes. So, according to this, usually speakers, it doesn't matter which way it goes, so we're just going to plug it straight on and see what happens, I suppose. There is no positive, I don't think. Positive or negative. Actually, yes, there is. The positive is to this side. So the red cable is positive, and we're just going to slide it on like that. So that's that speaker. That'll give you your post beep. It's a little help when diagnosing issues if the motherboard isn't booting or the computer isn't booting in general. Next, we're going to go to our front panel USB 2. This is actually a half connector, since we only have one USB 2 on the motherboard. As you will see here, we have one USB 3 and one USB 2. And USB 2 ports are these ones here. So, since we've only got a half connector, we've got to check which side it goes on. If you have a full connector, which will have 10 pins, or 9 actually, it will have 9 holes in the connector and 9 holes on the board, but they call it a 10-pin connector. I don't know why, they just do it. But we've got to check which way it goes. So this is labeled for us, and it goes on the top like so. So the power is the top left, and VCC is power. So we're going to stick that on right here. Lastly, if I can find it, we have our front panel audio. Now we've got two options here. We've got HD audio, which is this connector here, and AC97. AC97 is the older standard. You'll see it has the same connector, but it's wired differently. AC97, I think, is from the 1990s and earlier. HD audio is the one that's on this board, and it's located here. So we want to find the blocked out pin that's here, or the blocked out hole, I should say, and the missing pin on the motherboard, and orient this so it's the right way, and just slide it on like the other connectors. We also want to tie this back later so it doesn't get caught in the CPU fan like it just did then. Okay, lastly, we're going to hook up this fan while I remember, and that's going to go into this little 3-pin connector up here. There's also a 4-pin connector down at the bottom, or the mid to bottom of the board here. It doesn't matter which connector you put it on. A 3-pin can go on a 4-pin, a 4-pin can go on a 3-pin. It's better to put a 4-pin on a 4-pin, but it really doesn't matter. Just as long as your CPU fan uses the appropriate amount of pins, because they use a special kind of control. And a 4-pin is known as a PWM header, which stands for pulse width modulation, which basically allows you to change the speed of the fan dynamically to either a temperature probe or the temperature of your CPU in the CPU's case, and they just slide on. But the 3 pins are only DC controlled, so they'll be 5 volt, 7 volt, or 12 volt. Next, we want to get these cables out of the way because we're going to install the video card. Now, this may be a little difficult, so you've already seen me install the video card, I think. I might have edited that out, but I already tried to, but then I uninstalled it. So we've got the PCI Express connector here. That's going to go into the topmost slot, which is a 16x PCI Express slot. We also removed the 2 covers that were in line with this slot on the back of the case, so the video card ports could show out the back. And we're just going to make sure that this little clip thing here is in the open position, which is on the outside, or as far out as it can go. We're going to grip our video card by the heatsink and the PCI Express bracket, like so. Slide it in, and actually, we might tidy up these wires first, so we'll be back.